today I want to talk about intellectual curiosity. I mean, this comes under the idea of intellectual or academic development. The fact that I think many of us, when we think about academic development, unfortunately, we sort of reduce it just to results. If my kid gets straight A's in their report card, they're fine. But I think intellectual curiosity reminds us that there's a larger dimension when we talk about the development of their mind, their thought, their thinking, their understanding of the world. You see, psychology tells us that all children, when they are born, automatically their brains come with this, urge and instinct to master the environment, understand the environment. So we call this intellectual curiosity. So if you notice, young children, you don't need to teach them to be curious. The 1-year-old child, you put them in any strange room, they'll crawl around, they'll touch things, put things in their mouth, so they are explorers. And the evolutionary element of that is because the brain, in order to be safe for their own survival, needs to understand the environment. And that's the reason also why 3, 4, 5 years old, the kid will drive you crazy with all kinds of questions. They'll ask you 101 questions. Why is the moon round? Why is the sunrise red? Why is electricity like that? So all of this, don't forget, it's not prompted. So the parents don't need to motivate their children to learn. From a young age, children already are hungry for information. Now we all know then something happens, right? So between that time when they're born and they're so hungry and so excited, to the time they're about 12 or 13, where learning has become a bad word for a lot of children already. You talk to children about learning, they say, oh, Papa, this is the weekend, I don't want to learn anymore, no exams, it's the holiday. So something has gone wrong, So I think what we as parents need to do is, we need to protect that intellectual curiosity. So I'm going to give a few tips on how to go about that. So tip number 1 is, whenever your child asks you a question, take the question seriously. So, whether why is the moon round, red, that kind of thing, why does the wind blow this way, why do tornadoes happen? Even if half the time you don't know the answer, then that's fine. Admit you don't know. Now with the internet, with your handphones or whatever it is, there's no excuse. Within 5 minutes you can get the answer. But always address the question. So whether they're asking you in the car or in dinner time, then tell them, look, I'll get back to you. Okay, let Papa do some research or Mommy do some research. We'll answer the question and we'll discover it together. Now then you're sending the child the message that this is a good thing, you see. Whereas many times you brush them off, stupid question, it doesn't matter. Who cares whether the moon is round or not? Then we are sending them the message that learning is not important. So I think that's my first tip. Whenever children ask questions about the world, about anything, then take it seriously, take time to answer. Number 2, stress to the child that the school curriculum is not a limit to their learning. So you'll find that from whatever age, children are interested in certain things. As all children go through phases. So my son, for example, he went through a phase where he's interested in waterfalls, water features, then the weather, tornadoes, hurricanes, then dinosaurs, which I think most kids go through. Everybody goes through a dinosaur phase, a snake phase, cars. So now he's going through a car phase. Very interested in cars, Bugattis, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Protons, stuff like that. So look, through these phases, again, parents' role is to encourage, not to put it down, not to be a wet blanket. So as far as possible, in a sustainable and affordable way. How do we encourage that interest? So for example, during the car phase, then my wife and I would take him to car showrooms, take him all around free of charge, right? Go and look at cars, this and that. During the water feature stage, then we actually made him a small water feature, gave him pipes, plumbing equipment, which we bought from, sort of the stationery shop, for him to actually make his own water features, So I think each stage is about giving vent to that, to that interest. So don't go and discourage. Don't say, hey, this one is not in the school curriculum, don't waste time. That should never ever be, a phrase that we use. It's always about allowing the child to run with their interest. And then of course their interest will change, and that's a good thing, So these are my 2 tips for how parents can keep alive that intellectual curiosity. And I guess, in conclusion, the most important thing is parents need to lead by example. So when was the last time you as a parent, we read a book? So we're always complaining to our children about the fact they don't read enough, they don't learn enough. But many parents, since we came out of university, we've stopped learning already. So we are not curious ourselves. So I think as father and mother, we need to lead by example. We need to be reading stuff. So I was telling my children about the fact that I was never strong in science in school, but now I'm actually interested in science. Biology, environmental science, physics. I was just reading this book about, astrophysics. So you share that when you're driving in a car, when you're at the dinner table. In fact, my brother and I, the reason why we became interested in things like literature and Shakespeare was because my father, who was an English teacher, used to tell us stories all the time. So he would be sharing things that he read and he learned. So I think leading by example, being curious ourselves, taking seriously this idea that we are lifelong learners, then we set the culture of the home. So that's my tip today.